The library is probably screaming at me, but I'm too much of a control freak. That counts? Manufactured love triangle. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today. And for this video, we are going to be talking about my May TBR. All right, before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. And you got to tell me in the comments, what book are you most looking forward to reading this month? Okay, so like my April TBR was kind of ambitious, and majority of that did not get read. On one hand, I do have a slightly smaller May TBR. I probably should maybe be taking it easy and just mood reading through May, but I'm too much of a control freak. I am being a little bit nicer to myself. It's a little bit more manageable. We'll see how this goes. As per usual, let's start out at the top with my obligation reads. Of course, I am very excited to still get these read, starting with Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, which is actually going to be the pick for my Geek Squad book club that I host over on my Patreon. I am so excited for this one. It's set in a fantastical world that's more classical fantasy, kind of reminiscent to like D&D from what I hear. Adventuring parties are sort of treated like rock stars, and this group was once upon a time like one of the best, but they're older now and they're retired. However, unfortunately, the daughter of one of these members actually gets kidnapped, and so they bring the band back together to try and save her. Seems a little bit reminiscent to like a Fantastical Red or, Taken. Very up my alley when it comes to action movies. But at the same time, I think this fantastical twist is going to be really fun. I've heard the writing in this is very humorous, so I'm pretty excited for that. But Michael, one of my patrons, actually was kind enough to buy this for me a few years ago, so we're finally going to get around to reading it. Should I be starting into another fantasy series? Probably not. But when has that ever stopped me? If you are interested in reading this along with us, or if you want to watch the spoiler-filled reading vlog I'll be posting, I'll have a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Next up is my in-person book club that I partake in, which focuses on romance books. So we get a new prompt every month. We have to find a book that fits the prompt. This month is a book that has a wedding in it, which is pretty easy. I feel like a lot of books I could probably read and just point to like the epilogue and say, hey, that's a wedding, that counts. But I do have two from my shelves that have like a wedding specifically involved in the plot line. So I'm currently looking at either The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest or Say You'll Be Mine by Nina Kumar. I believe Say You'll Be Mine is like a fake engagement situation between Megan and Karthik. So Megan's kind of doing this to showcase that she is over the groom of a wedding they're going to be attending together for some reason. And then on the opposite side, Karthik is doing this in the hopes that it will dissuade his mother from trying to set him up with other women. On the opposite side with The Partner Plot, I believe this one's a second chance romance between these two high school sweethearts who end up getting married in Vegas. So I'm hoping to read one of these and get them knocked off my TBR one way or another. I'm pretty excited for both of them. They definitely sound very entertaining. I am doing my best to continue my goal of reading one nonfiction book a month. And so I'm kind of working through chronologically, just in the order that these books came to my shelves. So next up is The Spy Who Loved by Claire Mully. I've had this one on my shelves for a while now, actually. My parents got it at a trip when they were in, I think, Germany, maybe? Actually, it might have been Poland. This follows the life of Christine Granville, who ended up becoming a spy during World War II. It sounds like it'll be an interesting read. I definitely need to get this one read because I promised my mom once I read it, I will lend it to her. And this has been sitting on my shelf for like 3 years now. Apart from that, I do also have 2 advanced reader copies that I need to try and get read sometime in May. Starting out first is You Won't Forget Me by Maisie Eddings. Maisie Eddings is definitely up there for a instant buy romance author of mine. Honestly, I saw this author's name and then I saw the cover, which showcased it is sapphic, and pretty much immediately put in a request for it. It looks like we start out following Cubby, who is a member of this band, and she has a very on and off again relationship with one of her fellow members, Connor. However, unfortunately, just when they're like really starting to make it big, Connor breaks up with her and then ends up like skyrocketing with his own solo career. So she and the other 2 members get a lot closer, and she actually ends up finally taking a jump with Darcy. However, right around the same time, it starts going around that apparently Darcy is actually dating Harry, the other member of the band. So between her own heartbreak and then like trying to keep the band together, it sounds like this is going to have a lot of like shenanigans. I'm not the biggest fan of love triangles, I'll be honest, but from reading the synopsis, it doesn't sound like it's an actual love triangle. It sounds like it's more of a manufactured love triangle. But the last romance book that I read set in the music scene went really well for me. So here's hoping this one does too. I also received a copy of Great Outdoors by Kayla Olson, and this one just sounded pretty entertaining. A very rom-com setup where we're following this woman who is very high maintenance, and in an effort to kind of like prove to herself and her ex that she can be more low-key, she can be more down to earth, she ends up joining this group that goes on like some sort of backpacking adventure. And while it's definitely a trial for her, it gets all the more difficult when she starts to fall for the guy who is actually leading the expedition. Definitely sounds like it's going to be some opposites attract with forced proximity, two tropes that are like super up my alley, meaning I'm really excited to get around to it. It sounds like a really fun time. Along with those, I do have a few other books that I'm just trying to get read this month, starting at the top with I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I've heard a lot of positive things about this one. I believe it's supposed to be set in this like post-apocalyptic world where there is this group of women who have been living in a bunker, and I think it's like 40 women, and we're seeing things through the perspective of the youngest one who like really just grew up in this bunker. This is the only world she's ever known. So I think they're finally allowed out, and we're kind of seeing the repercussions of this life on her. Like I said, I've heard a lot of positive things about it. I'm really intrigued to see the themes that are presented here and like how the author ends up working through them. I'm not always the biggest fan of post-apocalyptic books, but I feel like I just can't stop hearing about this, and I'm really intrigued to see what do I think. I'm also really hoping to continue working on Kaiju number 8 this month. I started this back in March for my March Manga Madness blog, and I really enjoyed it. I did work through the first 2 volumes, but I want to pick up the third. I've had this hanging out on my shelves for over a month now. The library is probably screaming at me, but I really want to actually make time to read it. So we're following Kafka, who lives in this alternate Japan where there are kaiju emergencies, and Japan suffers them worse than anywhere else. And he wants to be a member of this kaiju task force that fights against them and protects everybody else. But unfortunately, he's never really succeeded until he ends up getting infected with some sort of a kaiju bug thing. And now he actually has the ability to turn into one. Tries to utilize these powers for good by joining the defense force and actually managing this time. Like I said, this one has started off really strongly for me, so I'm itching to continue reading it. I just need to make time to do so. Okay, and on that note, that is officially it for today, y'all. So thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave... Oh shoot, I didn't think this one up. You know what? For Kings of the Wild, let's leave the rocker hand emoji down in the comments. I have links to all of my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope that you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!